Hello! I am back. I'm so bad at updating all social media except for my blog, so I apologize for the long absences in between these videos. My last video got a lot of views, way more than I was expecting, about going to the psych ward. And, a lot of people had asked me, because I sort of teased it at the end of the video, like, I would do a follow-up video, like a part 2, what happened between 2007 and 2017 that got me to like a more stable point in my life. But I decided that I don't want to make that video. And I feel bad because I did get quite a bit of interest. Like, several people have messaged me and left comments saying that they're looking forward to part 2. But I just don't think I'm going to do it, and this is why. First, basically, long story short, it's just too recent for me to talk about. The whole thing that happened with the mental hospital, as I explained in the last video, this all happened in like 2006, 2007, so it's long enough ago, and I lived in a different state. I mean, I don't hang out with anybody that I hung out with then. It's so long ago, and I've had so much time to process it, and it's really a story that only involves me. I was comfortable telling that on the internet, but this next part of my life, I'm sure that people are expecting like, oh, and then she started going to therapy, and then she slowly made a recovery process over the next 10 years, which you would think that's what happened, but the truth is that my life actually got much worse after I got out of the mental hospital. Basically, after I got out of the mental hospitals, I went through a period of, just intense poverty. Couldn't afford food. I was going to food shelves. I didn't have a place to stay. I was like sleeping on somebody's couch. I lived on somebody's couch for 6 months. Charity, food shelves, charity dinners, mostly from Christian churches. Okay, so there was the poverty. Just like selling my blood for cigarette money, that sort of thing, right? And working horrible jobs, at minimum wage, where I would just be terribly abused by the bosses, and like I have complex PTSD from being belittled as a child. How do you think working a minimum wage job agreed with me, right? Because all of a sudden I was in the real fucking world where I had to pay my own rent, and the inheritance that I had from my dad, who died when I was 14, it was gone. So like this was like really my first entrance into the real world. And on top of that, I went through a period of intense sickness where I had a horrible leg, and maybe I'll do like a video about the sicknesses or whatever, because this is, I'm more comfortable talking about the sicknesses, but basically I went through a period of disease in my legs where I couldn't walk for an entire summer, and this is right when I'm getting poor too, so like I can't work, I can't walk, I can't leave my bed, I'm like literally bedridden with open sores all over my legs like a fucking leper. Okay, grotesque. So there was the horrible leg disease where I couldn't walk for an entire summer. If you want to Google it, it is called subcutaneous leukocytoclastic vasculitis. I told you I wasn't gonna do the entire video, so I'm just gonna not explain in so much detail about each of these things, because I do sort of want to keep this video short. So I had horrible leg disease. I got an eye infection, and by an eye infection, I mean I got some fucking bugs in my eye that tried to eat my eye. I have permanent vision loss in this eye from these bugs trying to eat my eyes. And the alcoholism. So basically that's it. Horrible leg disease, bugs tried to eat my eye, and I became a very serious alcoholic during my 20s. But those are all things that, to be honest with you, I would be fine talking about. The real reason that I don't want to talk about this period of my life is because now it involves people that I still know. And people who I know in real life watch these videos or could potentially in the future watch these videos. I know that a lot of people in real life follow my blog, so they have access to these videos. And I'm just not comfortable in public talking about some of the situations that really affected me leading up to this point in my life, because quite frankly, in my 20s, what happened was I got into a lot of abusive relationships with men. I mean, it basically culminated almost a year ago in October of 2016, where a man actually beat me up in my house, like right over there. Someone who I knew and trusted, that I met about, a year after I got out of the hospital last time. So I hope that you understand why I just don't want to talk about it. And it made me think of something else. Like, basically, I just haven't had time to process all of the things that have happened in my 20s. I have a lot of time. I have trouble processing trauma. So it's a little bit too close to me still. Maybe talk to me in 10 years, and I'll tell you what happened in my 20s. Talk to me when I'm 40. I'll tell you what, I have made this mistake before. So, in the last video, I was in Boston going to college. And after I got out of the mental hospital, I went back to school. I was like, okay, I'm really gonna do it this time. And I was doing pretty well. Like, I went through a pretty quick, it was like a social pressure induced, I don't want to be crazy, I'm gonna swing way to the other end of the spectrum and get like super logical and that sort of thing. Like, it was that sort of reaction to what had happened that all of a sudden I was doing pretty well in school again. But I did actually wind up just dropping out one day for the final time. And it was I had a writing class where the assignment was you were supposed to write about a place that you had traveled to, right? And me, being fresh out of the nut house and like an oversharer, I was like, well, I'll write about going to the nut house 6 times in last year. So I did wind up writing, and it was a very good piece, if I do say so myself. I wound up writing this really long piece about going to the nut house and some of my experiences there, a lot of which I actually talked about in my last video, but with the freshness of something that happened last year instead of 10 years ago, okay? And it was a writing class, so we had to review it among the other students. So I passed it out one day, and then everybody went home and read it. And when we came back, it was time for people to critique me. I got my critiques. It was roundly positive. And then I left class, and I never went back, ever. That was the day I left that school for good. I had dropped out twice already. I had put myself on an academic sabbatical twice while I was recovering from my mental illness, but this time I just left for good. I just could not. I had violated my own privacy by oversharing with people, and I won't even try to explain the emotion that I was feeling, but I felt so exposed by being too open too soon about something that was extremely traumatic, because going to the mental hospital for complex PTSD is also a trauma experience. It was too fresh, and I just walked away. And so I don't want to do that again. I would prefer to maybe just unload it in doses that are more approachable and feel better to me. So I just wanted to explain, because I did have a lot of questions, like, are you going to do the second half of this video? And the answer is no. So there you go. A quick shout out to the person who always comments that my couch is ugly. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, I work in a furniture store. I chose this fabric myself, and I am deeply offended. So keep on leaving your hate. I'm just gonna love my beautiful geometric patterned couch even more. Okay, bye.